Welcome back, everybody. Monday show, final half hour. Rolls on here on an overcast and gloomy kind of Monday, which for our next guest and many ADs around the state, they're just keeping their fingers crossed after what's been actually a pretty nice spring. Now we're down to the final 2 weeks of it and trying to get everything done. We got region tournaments going on across the state in baseball, softball. The state track meet is coming up later this week and just trying to get everything done. Guy Fridley joins us from Dickinson, athletic director out there after a pretty monumental news that came out late last week. We were visiting off air. Are you just glued to your weather app now for the last couple of days of trying to get everything done?
Of course, what AD isn't, in any time of the year, but especially now with postseason coming up. And we've been fortunate, like you said, all spring long and pretty much all winter long, not have to postpone, cancel anything. And boom, here we are.
Yeah.
Tournament time is coming up in the spring where you really can't push them. So we got to get in what we can get in and try to adjust on the fly. And I wish we weren't talking about that, but when you start getting 5 inches of rain last week and then another 2 inches this week, it's going to be a challenge. But our job is to get it in for kids and provide opportunity for kids, and that's what we're going to do at our best ability.
I don't know if I've shared my idea on this. I've shared it with almost every other AD, so you got to bear with me. Can we move the season back a couple weeks? Can we space it out where not everything is the same weekend and we don't have to worry about this? Can we get some traction on that? Can you help me on this?
Yeah, being on the activities board for 4 years, you kind of learn the processes of why we have to do some things and why they are not spread out. It comes with availability of facilities as well. We got baseball and softball, and then you start getting Legion baseball into things, and in golf, you start getting the summertime. You take away from those, I would say those courses that have those adult leagues that you get into. You can't mess with those adult leagues, Dom, or you're gonna be in trouble. So, but yeah, it went. We talked about it several times on the high school activity side, and there's some challenges that come with both sides of it, obviously.
You had some news over the last little bit. So for people that don't follow on this side of the state, Guy, how early in the process or how long ago did this process start about transitioning to a new nickname?
Well, Dom, it's been I would say it's been contentious for many years, for 20 some years. I want to say several years ago, 20 some years, I think it was in the late 90s. There was a group that was changing it, and our school board got recalled because of the change. And so it's been a sense of division a little bit for many years, and it's been just the Band-Aid's been hanging there for a while, and it hasn't went without some contentious conversations, some deep conversations on what we're doing and where we need to go to bring that unity back. As you know, Dom, a mascot or a nickname is supposed to bring unity to your school, and when you start seeing some division and breaking away from that unity, that's difficult. You think about taking opportunities away from kids and not having that unity involved and that pride. I think it's time to have that deeper discussion. We've had that here in the past probably 6 to 8 months.
Did you hear or feel that students were either targeted or people were upset with it when your team would go on the road anywhere?
Well, yeah, I would say most definitely. I think anytime we make a decision on a big decision like this, it doesn't go lightly. And I think the cornerstone of our decision that we made is our kids were losing out on opportunities because of our mascot nickname. Our kids would go outside this border and they lose out on opportunities. And I think if you go ask anybody, Dom, if what's more important when you ask yourself, keeping a name and keeping our students from opportunities, or changing a name and giving our kids boundless opportunities. And if you put kids in the forefront of decisions, and that's our job as leaders and school district administrators, we want our kids to have just the boundless opportunities, and we're getting limited by who we are outside of our state, and we just couldn't look past that anymore. And I felt, and we felt as a district that we gotta really consider changing names so our kids aren't held back and losing those opportunities that every other kid in the other state is getting.
I feel like I've done nickname stories far too often in this state. What was the pushback from, I will say, and this is my words, Guy, the old guard, on saying why we don't want to change? It's been our nickname for 100 years. What kind of pushback did you get?
Yeah, it has been for 100 years, and and we understand that for many, the midget mascot deeply rooted in tradition and pride. I myself, both my parents graduated and I have a daughter graduated. They're all Dickinson High School midgets. Um, you know, Dom, you can think about when we were in high school and you're not in high school, some words that have changed over
Yep.
time. The word midget has changed over time. We can think back on some of the things that we talked about and said when we were in high school, like, holy cow, I can't believe we even talked about that. And we're getting to that point with the word midget too. And obviously we have those deep rooted Dickinson High School midget families and traditionalists that we hear it, and we're not going to go away from our tradition and pride that who we were for 100 years. We're not going to forget about it. We're going to honor it. We're going to make sure that we take care of those people as well. And we're fortunate enough that we had a bond referendum pass here for a new academic wing and commons area. You're going to see that pride, that Dickinson High School midget pride, and that tradition within our hallways. How that will be, we're not sure, but we're going to keep. We're going to remind people who we were. We're not going to bury that tradition and that pride that we had for 100 years here in Dickinson.
Doing this is not a cheap endeavor in terms of you got to rebrand everything. How does that get paid for? I guess I'll just ask plainly.
Yeah, we know it's been a sign of contentious for 20 some years, and as an AD, I got to look at budget, be conscious of our budget and what could happen 5, 10 years down the road. Um, like it or not, I made the decision several years ago that we're going to start slowly moving away from midgets on our uniforms to be prepared for this day. So it isn't a big cost prohibition for us. And so if you look at our uniforms, a lot of our uniforms have Dickinson across, or we use our D font that we have. We do still have some of our uniforms that have midgets on. That's who we are. We have pride in that. But there's been some things that we've been strategic about, or I've been strategic about, that this day could come. And so obviously it's not going to happen in 1 year, Dom. I don't think that's realistic, financially, or we don't want to put that on our district at all, that we're going to turn that page and you're going to see everybody outfitted in Mavericks uniforms. That's not going to happen. And it's just not possible. It's going to be a 3 to 4 year process until you see everybody down the road outfitted in our Mavericks uniforms.
So Mavericks ends up winning the vote. Give us the behind the scenes on who voted and why this one won out.
Yeah, so it was a process, and initially we had our community, anybody. I mean, Dom, you could have submitted a mascot idea.
I had a couple for you.
We were taking them in, and we had roughly over 850 submissions for different mascots. Now, some of those were double, tripled up, and so on, but we had over 850 submissions.
Holy cow.
And then those submissions went on to our leadership group, our coaches leadership and our athlete leadership teams. Those two groups met together and took it down to about five mascots they felt were really good in their eyes. And then after that, we presented it to a group of about 15 people that were student athletes, community members, alumni, a teacher on staff up here that got together and took it down to the final two that we had, which was Mavericks and Defenders. And then our students across the districts in grades 5 through 12 voted on Thursday on what they felt would give us the best representation of who we are. And Mavericks won out to it with that vote with our students, like I said, grades 5 through 12.
Was the orange and black a non-starter? We're still going to keep that. We're just going to tailor it to whatever the nickname is going to be.
Yeah, definitely. The orange and black was really a non-negotiable for us. And Don, we're really going to streamline our orange into an orange that kind of differentiates ourselves a little bit. If you walk into our gymnasium, you'll see 8 different shades of orange, from international orange to deep burnt orange to everything in between. And so we're moving forward with more of a desert orange type color that we have, and just go with one. Just like in the past, we had like the font, the D you see on my shirt. We had about 5 different fonts going around. We had an Old English D. We had another different Old English D.
I remember that one. Yeah. Yep.
And so several years ago, we decided we need represented in one font, and we did that. And now we're going to go forward and not have the rainbow of shades of orange in our gymnasium. We're going to go with one orange.
All right, so it's been out for a couple days. What was the weekend like? What, you went everywhere, I'm sure. What was the reaction that you got from people out and about?
Well, excitement, I would say. I think there's a lot of excitement with our students, and our district sent out a video when we made announcements. So we shared it with all of our district at 2 o'clock on Friday, and we took different reactions from our students. And obviously, the elementary age, you see them jumping up and down and excited. High school kids don't get excited much for that, but there was a lot of excitement. I have I have a sixth grader in my household and a sophomore, and my sophomore doesn't get too excited about a lot of things. My sixth grader gets excited about a lot of things, and so. But I would say throughout the community, the text I receive and different things was excited that we have a nickname. The process is over. We can move on and turn the page and start another 100-year tradition here at Dickinson High School.
Can you give us some that were left on the chopping block? The others that maybe never got to the light of day, nickname-wise, that you heard?
God, there was many of them from Diamondbacks to Dukes to Ducks to Raptors to the list goes on to Lynx. The list goes on of how many names there were. And Dom, throughout the process, it was pretty cool. The submissions that we got from our community, we had, it looked like probably a 5-6-year-old kid that sent in a mascot idea, and he or she drew out the mascot, what it looked like. So it was pretty cool process to see how many people are engaged, how many took into what we were doing and ran with it. It was a fun process.
Last thing before I let you go, just the emotion of having this over and done with, this part of it. I know you got more, obviously the heavy liftings to come, but this part being done, how big of a weight is that off the shoulders now?
Well, I don't want to call it a weight, but it's good to get it passed. We obviously, as you know, when change is hard
No doubt.
change is easy, but making change for what's best for your students at the current moment is what you have to do. And obviously, we're excited for the future. We're excited for the next 100 years of Dickinson High School. But again, we want to make sure that we honor our past and who we were. And to answer your question, I was ready for it to be over with. I was ready for Monday morning today, and to move forward and excited, like I said, about the next 100 years for Dickinson.
I really appreciate you doing this, bud. I know you're a busy man this time of year. Thanks so much for doing this. And we got the best looking Fridley back on WDAY airwaves, so I always appreciate that. Be well. Have a great summer. We'll talk again down the road, okay?
All right. Appreciate you.
Guy Fridley joining us, Dickinson Athletic Director, here this morning on the news that the high school in Dickinson will have a new nickname and logo. Eric, bring that up again when you have a second. I like it. There's going to be a couple other secondary ones that they will announce in the coming months, but it's sharp. Guy mentioned they're going to change the orange as well. I think everybody knows the Dickinson is the bright, well, they have 8 different colors, but the bright orange we associate with Dickinson school colors. Maverick, no one else has that nickname in the state. So at least let's go there to start. At least they didn't copy it. Now, I had heard Raptors had some momentum, which obviously for the dinosaur findings in that part of the state, the fossils that have been found out there, that would have, to me, because my son is obsessed with dinosaurs right now, do it. Because there's another one that's not that's unique to the area, right? It's special for that part of North Dakota. I thought that would have been a cool choice. They decided to go with Mavericks. It's better than Defenders. Defenders stinks. I'm going to tell you that right now. With no apologies to the UFL team, I think it's the DC Defenders, whatever they are. That stinks. This is good to go. And it's well past time. I said it when the story came out in March that they were going to do this. I did not refer to them by their nickname anytime I broadcasted a game. I wasn't going to do that. If I was going to take heat for it, then I would fall on that sword. That's not what I was not going to do that. And thankfully, it's going to be retired, and we've got a new one going forward. We appreciate Guy giving us a few minutes to chat about it this morning. We'll take our final break. We'll come back. We'll get you ready for a big sports Monday. We got no NHL or NBA playoffs. That doesn't mean there's a lack of things going on tonight. We'll tell you about that. We wrap up the show right after this.